Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. We're here at the international meeting here in Duszniki, just outside the Poznan area. And of course, Peter Lisek was the man who founded this meeting just, 4 years ago. We're in its fourth edition now to bring the best pole vaulters together. And we are underway here, and I'm joined by Holly Bradshaw, Olympic medalist in this event, as well as many other medals as well. Holly, firstly, what do you think of these kind of specific, just pole vault only meetings that we can enjoy?
I mean, they are incredible. I absolutely love doing these kind of competitions. The fact that the crowd is so close is unbelievable. And yeah, I think we're going to have a good show today.
Absolutely. We've got a 12-men lineup. We've had one DNF, or DNS, shall I say, Holly, Anthony Amarati of France. Any inside info there, or we can just presume that a busy fixtures ahead of him and get him ready for the national championships? We thought we might see him as he still tries to bid for that Paris qualification.
Yeah, I think probably it's being a bit smart. I think, yeah, you never know really what's going on behind the scenes, and he's probably looking after himself. He's obviously got a home Olympic Games. He's thinking about qualifying for that. It's probably just a smart decision, and you never know he might have picked something up in warm up. The weather, it looks good to me, but you never really know until you speak to the athlete. But I think he's probably been safe.
Yes, absolutely. And there we have got the star Frenchman, Renaud Lavillenie. He continues to impress, 37 years of age now. He will be competing here today at this meeting. So as we just look, Miller will go over, and the bar currently had a few men struggling actually at this 5:22 mark, and you can see Miller, that's 2 failed attempts, so not off to the best start for himself. He's a man who's more than capable of getting up beyond that 5:22, 5:86 jumper, and that's the season's best and lifetime best as well. But Holly, Renaud Lavillenie yet to open his campaign outdoors. We're going to see him, I think he no-heighted a couple of weeks ago, but we're going to see him here today. What are the chances of him being fit for the Paris Olympic Games?
Yeah, I think it'll be really interesting to see how he gets on. I think a lot of these athletes are trying to find their groove. I know Austin Miller in particular, he's doing a little tour. He's come over from America. He's doing a competition, it seems, every couple of days. So he's really churning out those meets. But yeah, it's really interesting to see how Renaud gets on. Obviously, home Olympics. He's such a seasoned professional athlete now, 37 years old, which for me is crazy. But he'll be really wanting to go to that Paris Olympics and compete in front of a home crowd.
Well, as we watch Ladwig take his third attempt at 5:22, we hope it's not his final attempt either. That is an interesting point you make. Pole vaulters, like not very few track events and field events at all, compete as much as these guys and girls do. Is there a reason behind that, Holly, as we just watch Ladwig? Will he go clear? Yes, thank goodness. He'll stay in the competition over at 5:22 safely. But yeah, is there a reason behind why they compete so much?
I think it's sometimes athletes just want to get into their groove. A lot of athletes, when they're ready, they're ready. Sometimes athletes really need to compete to get into that kind of fitness. I'm not one of those athletes, but some are. And, I think in a long season like this, where the Olympics is only in August, it's nice to get out there competing and see what you're able to do. And yeah, I think it's nice to build a little bit of form and do a bit of practice and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And for some of those Americans like Ludwig and Austin Miller here as well, Ludwig on the runway as we speak, it's awfully hard for them to qualify. You look at the strength in American pole vaulting now. They've got several men over that 6-meter, barrier. And it is a bit of a barrier, isn't it, Holly? 20 men in history have gone clear at that height. Is it becoming less of a barrier as time goes on?
I think so. I think a lot of guys have now gone over that. That was a really beautiful clearance from Matt. Yeah, I think that 6-meter barrier, it's been broken so many times now. It's becoming a new norm. And I think when some of the boys out there seeing Mondo repping it out time and time again, it almost makes them think, well, if he's doing it so easily, I can. And I think having people like Mondo clearing it every single competition has brought men's pole vault up, and it's raised the game, really.
Absolutely. And there you go then, Ludwig going clear at 5:22. So what do you got? Sort of 7 men at this height, a few to enter, of course. We're going to see Renaud Lavillenie, Peter Lisek, who set this meeting up a few years ago. and got it underway, kind of coming out of COVID, really, the Polish record holder. And let's see what Miller can do. Can he go clear at 5:22 this time around? Yeah, comfortable. And Holly, it's interesting. Men who have jumped so much higher in this height, obviously struggling early on in this competition.
Yeah, I think, like I said, a couple of these guys are on the final leg of their journey now, so they're maybe a little bit tired, and every setup in the pole vault is different, so the box might be different, the runway might feel different, your poles might be reacting differently on the day, and sometimes it takes a few to get into it, and that's why as pole vaulters we enter so low into the competition, so you can constantly get feedback from what's going on around you. And pole vault, there's so many different variables, so you can tell from Austin that's a completely steered jump. He's almost just trying to clear the bar to negotiate the next one, and he's collecting information and data and as he goes along.
Yeah, that is interesting you say about the variables, and this is it. Some of these pop-up events here that we're seeing, it's a completely, I guess, new runway which has just been laid for the purpose of this event. How much of a difference would that make when you're really going for those high heights?
I think it makes a big difference having the crowd next to you. I don't know about this particular competition, but they'll probably have their own music going, so they might have chosen their own song. The crowd are getting behind you, and I think having the crowd so close and all eyes only on you just gives you that little bit of a boost. And I think we could see some really good heights. I've not managed to get my eye on a windsock yet, but it's not raining. I don't know which way the wind's blowing, because that can make a big difference. But yeah, it seems to be a bit of a shaky start, but it has the potential to be in a good comp.
Absolutely, these men warming up into it as we got Butters, Markinovic, who's on the runway at the moment as well. He go, okay, 5:42 the bar's gone up to, so that 20 centimetre increase. And that's the point that is worth discussing as well. Who decides the bar increase, Holly, over the course, the bar heights, and how much it's going to go up each round?
So it's usually like a bit of a discussion between the agents, the coaches, and maybe the top kind of guys in this competition. I imagine Lisek, being his own competition, would have had a lot to say about what kind of bars he wants to go through. But it's usually they want to make sure it's fair all round with the heights, but also what you don't want is the competition to be too slow. Like if you had the bar increase in every 5 centimeters, the competition will just go on for hours, and it'll mean that the guys at the top end of the field will be waiting for 2-3 hours to come in. So it's a real balance to get those bars right, not too aggressive so that it really affects the lower end of the competition, but not too slow because then it'll affect the upper end of the competition.
It's an interesting, I guess, point you make about, those elites having to wait for a little while. And, Ladwig, he's got his competition. Ladwig underway already, cleared at 5:22. What can he do at 5:42, the German? .572, his lifetime best, so well within him as he's up and over, and he's the first man to go clear. Well, he'll be very pleased with that. A little bit of a monkey off his back, and as you mentioned, Holly, settling into the competition nicely now. Seems to have understood the runway a little bit, potentially a little bit of breeze as well.
Yeah, I think that was a really beautiful clearance, and he's really one of the upper end of the field. It is this guy. He went to Budapest last year. He's jumped 570. I think he's still quite young as well, so he's really coming up through the ranks. That was a really nice clearance. You can see he was really tall at takeoff and just easily sailed over that. Really, really nice, solid clearance.
Yeah, nice jumping there from Ladvig. And you mentioned his age, 25 years of age. What is a typical peak in the pole vault? It seems to me that a lot of athletes, we've got Renault who's 37 years of age, but it seems to me that longevity is quite possible in this event, and a few of the best in the world have been at it since we're going to see the world champion as well from 2011 take place here.
Yeah, I think this is a really high caliber field, and that was what we call a run through. So just to circle back to that, is sometimes as a pole vaulter, I've heard Katie Najot, who's the world and Olympic champion, describe it as a red and a green tick in her head, and if she runs down and something's not right, she doesn't know what quite it is, something red goes off in her mind and she knows to abort the jump. And pole vault can be incredibly dangerous if done incorrectly. So for me, if he's running down and something's not quite right in his mind, he'll just abort the jump, and then just to keep himself safe, really.
And that will go down as a foul, as a failed attempt. So next on the runway, Ethan Common of France. This talented junior athlete as well. European Under-23 champion from a couple years back in 2021. Just 23 years of age. We talk about development. Oh, 5:42. Just almost had the height there, didn't he, Holly? But not quite. Lifetime best, though, a 5:82 for this young man. Quite astonishing.
Yeah, he trains with Renault. There's quite a big group of them, actually. There's probably about 4 or 5 of them in that group that are jumping 580. So it's a really high caliber training group. And that, yeah, he's a really upcoming talent, as you just mentioned. He's still only young. I know he's won medals at European Under-20s and European Under-23s. Yeah, I think that for me was a blow through. So all he needs to do is potentially change up the pole. And sometimes there's pole vault, which is frustrating, is when you knock the bar off, it's not always a bad thing. That for me was a good clearance. He blew through the pole. He probably just needs to change up, do exactly the same again, and he'll sail over the bar.
That's a very good take. Pavel, then Wojciechowski, who will go. And this man, we talk about experience. This man is your 2011 world champion. So 13 years ago, he was at the peak of his powers. And then so Wojciechowski, just a failure. And is that a bar issue there as well, Holly?
Yeah, that looked again like a pretty good clearance. I was actually at a competition with him a week back, and this is going to be his final season, which is quite sad. He's been someone that's always on the circuit, but that for me was a good clearance. He just tickled it off on the way down. We'll see it a bit clearer here. Yeah, as you can see, he knocks it off with his thighs. Probably could do with a slightly bigger pole, and then he'll sail over that.
Yeah, and he is someone 34 years of age. So even in 2011, he was a youngster then. And when he was crowned world champion, works in the Polish Armed Forces as well. Multiple national titles for that man. But yeah, you're right. Perhaps just struggling a little bit. Only made qualification in Budapest last year. So sometimes when you know, don't you? And it's an awfully difficult event to just do summer in, summer out, isn't it? You mentioned the travel and the amount of competitions you have to get in as well.
Yeah, I think these guys are kind of backing up those competitions, and a lot of it will be travel and things like that. Like I said, I was with him last week in a competition, so he'll have probably gone home for a few days, and now, I don't know how far he is away. This is a home competition for him, just hopping on maybe a car or whatever. But it's very tiresome, and I think Wojciechowski has been travelling now for many, many years. He's probably due a little rest.
Absolutely. Well, man, that we haven't seen yet, Robert Sabera from Poland. Interested to see how he does. 580 lifetime best, 572 seasons best. He actually won in Chorzów just a few weeks ago. Goes clear just about, but he'll be chuffed with that because that's quite a commanding jump and a first time clearance as well, which is all important when we talk about count back a little bit later on in the competition.
Yeah, that was a nice solid clearance, I would say. There wasn't that much room over the bar, but nice and easy. You don't need to be... The thing with pole vault is you don't actually want to exert yourself too much at the front end of the competition. You want to save yourself, so you'll be starting on a slightly smaller pole, and then as the comp goes on, you'll increase the stiffness of the pole, which allows you to then jump higher over the bar, and it's a fine balance between choosing the right pole to just get over the bar and not go sailing over it and have expended so much energy trying to get that pole in.
Absolutely, and often we'll see athletes go sailing clear at some of these early heights, and you think, goodness me, what could that be? And you need some computer info, I guess, to tell you. But, here goes Matt Ludwig then, the American. Can he sort of find his feet in this competition? Trying to go clear at 5:42 to stay in, and a failure, so it's just not clicking for him at the moment. Man with a 5:90 lifetime best, and even 5:75 he jumped earlier this year indoors, albeit in Albuquerque. The 27-year-old season's best in Ostrava out there. He was 8th just a few days ago there in 5:52. But Holly, it's interesting. So 5:75 indoors in Albuquerque. It doesn't seem to count as his season's best. Is there a difference when you compete at altitude to the height you can jump, like we see in the sprint sometimes? It's always an asterisk by people's performances when they compete at altitude.
Yeah, I think Albuquerque is really renowned for being a great place to jump. I was actually talking to Austin and Matt at the meet a couple of weeks ago, and they were saying that it's like the pole vault haven to go and jump there, and I think that's probably why there's an asterisk there. But again, Matt is on this kind of tour with Austin. I know they both bring a lot of energy to the competitions. You'll see them clapping, you'll see them wanting to draw on the crowd. I think they love coming to these kind of competitions, and I think Matt Ludwig, they've both got quite good seasons best, but I think they're probably looking for something in and around the 580 mark, and I think they're both definitely worth that from what I was speaking to them about. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how they go today, and they're both looking quite good, to be fair.
Well, we certainly hope so. And Miller, yep, you're right. Oh, sails over that one. That was just fantastic from him, and he certainly seems to be finding his rhythm now, the 29-year-old. And hey, how about this then? It's his birthday tomorrow. He's going to be the big 30 tomorrow, is Austin Miller. So he's going for a nice birthday surprise. Hopefully he can have a few gifts today by winning here at the meeting here in Duszniki. But man, we haven't seen yet. We haven't seen Renaud Lavillenie, and also we haven't seen Peter Lisek, who is the guy who founded this meeting. I suspect, Holly, they will come in at what, the next height, 550 or potentially even higher.
Yeah, I think it will be interesting to see what they do come in at. The conditions seem pretty stable to me. I've had a look at the windsock a couple of times now, and it looks like pretty stable conditions, if not a little bit of a tailwind, which is perfect for pole vaulters. So I probably think we'll likely see the Renault coming at this bar, or maybe 52. I think I can see. Oh, here we go, Renault coming in at 42. Let's see how he does here. Wow. That looked really, really easy, incredibly safe for him. I think I've seen him struggle a little bit over the last couple of years, and this is the first time I've seen him jump in over a year, and that looked back to Renault at, in 590 shape. That was really, really easy. You can see the air between the bar. Yeah, I'm really excited to see what he goes today, because that looked incredibly easy.
Fantastic from him. 5th at those World Championships in 2022, like you said. So Renault had a little bit up and down last sort of 18 months or so, but it'd be great to see him back at his best. And one final swan song, I suppose, in Paris at a home Olympic Games, and it'll be full circle, because was it not London in 2012 where this man was your Olympic champion? But interestingly, Holly, he's never won a World Championships. As we move to Lisek, who has won a World Championships, 3 World Championship medals for him. And one in 2022 as well. Oh, goodness me. How about that?
Yeah, incredibly easy for him. That looked similar to Renault's, like an opening bar should look. Lots of air over the bar. Really, really easy. You can see the smile on his face. He's happy with that. I think these two boys today could have a really nice battle on their hands, judging by those 2 clearances.
Well, wouldn't that be good? I mean, Lisek, Holly, believe it or not, he's won this competition for the last few years, actually. And for a man who founded it, I wonder if he's rigging the fields at all. Just joking. But this year, Renaud Lavillenie, we hope, is going to give him a big old battle to the end as well, as they are going to move up now. That bar will move up to 552 before a few of the men try and attack that 542 as well and go clear, because we've got a few who seem to be stuck on it at the moment. Ethan Common of France, and we've got the 2 Poles as well. So Bartosz Markovic trying to go clear. Oh, okay. So he's on a time limit. Am I right, Holly?
Yeah, you're right. So they'll all have a minute to complete their jump. So as soon as the bar's set, the stands are in the right place and the bar's repositioned, an official will click a button which gives them a 1-minute countdown, and they'll have a minute to complete their jump. The little rule to that is, if you are on 2 seconds to go and you start your run up, that's still okay. So as long as they've started the run up before the clock counts down, they're able to complete their jump.
Well, and that was obviously a pretty heavy failure for Markinovic there, Bartos of Poland, and just not quite sure what is up with him at the moment. The 22-year-old, obviously problems in his run-up, and then just didn't really attack that at all.
No, I think I kind of, once an athlete gets a little bit of a thought in their head, and as we saw, he ran down, stopped, and went back. It takes a lot of mental strength to kind of override that initial thought of I'm stopping. So I'm not surprised he bailed. I have seen athletes then complete the jump, but once that seed of doubt is already planted in your mind, it's hard to turn that around.
Well, Kenny Kravchenko turned it around for himself as well. 5:22 clearance, just there or about. But can he go clear at 5:42? Oh, goodness me, the speed he got just towards the end of that run to get himself over the bar was incredible.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you look for as a pole vaulter. Start nice and gentle off the back and then really attack and really put all your speed into the run up. And he does this incredibly well. And it just means that he transfers so much energy, so much speed into that pole. And you can just see how fluid the jump is. Now, he got really close to that bar, but he did really well to negotiate his body around it.
That's massive from Kravchenko because he's got a lifetime best of 5:45. And after seeing that jump, you think, well, he can comfortably go clear. And of course, the season best of 5:30, the Balkan champion just a few weeks ago. Oh, okay. Well, Wojciechowski just struggling there to go clear. He's got one more attempt in.
Yeah, he seems to be struggling a little bit. But he has one more attempt, and this is why we have 3 attempts in the pole vault. You're constantly collecting data, and it looks like he's gripping down a little bit on that pole. So I just wonder whether he's changed up a different pole or trying a new piece of equipment. There you can see Austin Miller. The pole vault community is so brilliant. Every athlete helps each other, and it really is a bit of a family community. And it's nice to see Austin Miller giving him a few words of wisdom there.
Yeah, it's crazy. Does an international athlete like yourself and a very, very successful one on a global level, does that take a little while to get used to? Sort of, being able to live down there with your competitors for 2-3 hours at a time at competitions, and also, people trying to critique you and help you out. That must take a little bit of getting used to when they are your rivals at the end of the day as well.
Yeah, I think it's something that you do get used to and you see as beneficial. It can be quite lonely when you're out on the circuit. So if you're not friendly with your competitors, and it can be quite a lonely and isolating kind of existence. So being out there having fun and chatting to them, it really does save the day. I mean, we can be out there for 4 or 5 hours. So if you're just out there not chatting to anyone and having fun, then it can be a bit rubbish.
Goodness me. Well, these men all enjoying themselves, just kind of getting going. This competition now has been bubbling away, and I think we're going to see a few struggle at 42 and into 52 as well, and then we'll be really into the business end of this event once we start getting into the 560s, 570s. So Ludwig to go clear. Oh, okay. Well, he's going to have one more attempt, is Ludwig, and that's a shame for him.
Yeah, that looked like a really nice clearance, actually. He really nice solid run, really hit that takeoff, and a really beautiful jump. I think for me, you can see how deep he lands in the pit. I think that for me is just change up to a bigger pole. One thing that you want to watch out for these guys, if you see him knock the pole off on the way up and land really deep in the bed, that means to me that he needs to change up to a bigger pole.
Great insight from Holly Bradshaw, Tokyo bronze medalist there in the Olympics. And so Sabera at the moment, the pole, one-time clearance of 5:42 alongside Ranola Villani and Peter Lisek as well. Ladwig took a couple of attempts, but he's clear at 42. So is Miller, and so is Kravchenko. So someone who is your 2011 world champion from all those years ago, Wojciechowski, and this is his third and final attempt. 5:30 season's best outdoors so far, so he'd be in season's best territory if he can go clear, and more importantly, he'd have another 3 jumps at least to try and stay in this competition and challenge for the win a little bit. Is it a little bit of extra pressure, Holly, when you know you've got to go clear? You're on that 3rd jump, because often athletes seem to just find it, don't they? And it's almost like, diamonds are formed under pressure, clearances are formed under pressure, it seems sometimes.
Yeah, I really do think that. I think that third attempt clearance, the heart's going, there's something on the line. You see a lot of athletes step up, but it is really crippling anxiety as an athlete. There we go, brilliant, great clearance. But yeah, I think as well, you've got your 3 clearances, so you're collecting data as you go along, and I think you can learn a lot through those attempts. And that third attempt, usually you've refined everything a little tiny bit, and then you're in much better shape to clear it on that third attempt.
Well, that's great to see a big-time player like Wojciechowski stay in this competition and go clear at 42. It's a season's best for him, quite a healthy season's best as well. He's a man who's capable of much higher with that 5.93 lifetime best back in 2017. That, believe it or not, was a Polish record for a little while before Lisek came along and snapped it and moved it up to 6 meters and 2 centimeters back in Monaco in 2019. So a few years later, but now Ludwig to try and go clear. He's another one. Can he stay in this competition? I'm sure he's collected a lot of data in his first couple of jumps as well.
Yeah, I think like we say, I hope he's moved up a pole, because that last attempt he had, it was very soft, and he could really do with a little bit more pole stiffness in his hands, and then he can sail over the bar. I think that would... It's difficult being sat here as a commentator, because you want to know whether he's changed up poles, but a lot of the poles really do look the same, so unless you've got that insider knowledge, you don't really know.
Yeah, it's a very interesting point. Us at home, we can, you'd have to really know and pay attention to the smallest of details. I'm sure they're all branded the same as well. So here goes Ludwig then. Can he go clear? Former NCAA champion back in 2017. Oh, that's horrible. Oh, it's so unfortunate for him. He had that pretty much, Ollie. But do you think he went up a pole, or do you think he just risked it on his current one?
No, I think he did change up a pole there, because that jump looked so much better, and you can see he doesn't land as deep in the pit. He's pretty much over it, but for me there was a tiny little hesitation in the jump, and that's not to be expected. Usually when you see the air he's got over it, he must have changed up. And I think sometimes when you change up a pole for that last attempt, you've got your gremlins in the back of your mind, and I think he's maybe hesitated a little bit too much and not fully committed, and it's just made the difference. But that was such a beautiful and nice jump. He's really very unlucky to not have cleared that.
He is indeed. Ludwig, well, he'll finish down in 10th place with that one. Unfortunately so. 3 men failing out at 5.22, and Wojciechowski gone clear. So we'll move up to 5.52 now, I believe. It's probably worth just mentioning and talking about, I mentioned before, 20 men have gone clear of 6 meters, that barrier, but also another barrier that a few of them will have is that 5.82 Olympic qualifying standard, that auto spot, and just 32 men and women to qualify in those most of the field events in the pole vault in Paris. Holly?
Yeah, I think it's worth noting that this competition for the first time has been added to the Continental Tour circuit, and it's now a bronze, which means there's a lot more points up for grabs, because the way in which the Olympic qualification works is they kind of want to have half the field or a quarter of the field get that qualifying mark of 5.82, but then the rest of the field is made up of athletes that are ranked. And the way in which you get ranked is you go to competitions, and depending on whether it's gold, silver, bronze, or a diamond league, you get more points the higher the competition level. And because this is now categorized as a bronze, there are some good points up for grabs for these guys who have not got that Olympic standard but still want to qualify and get those points to rank them highly.
Yeah, certainly a man who wants to be doing that is Ludwig. Oh, just failure there. He's a 5.72 lifetime best. He is someone who will be looking at those ranking points, and of course he'll have to go and contend those German championships and finish in top 3 there if he wants to make it to Paris. And we may well be seeing him next week in Rome as well for those European championships, which we are very much looking forward to. And a lot of these Europeans probably just tuning up a little bit. I presume we're going to see Lisek as well, potentially Levellini there too.
Yeah, I think it's quite nice to have a European champs before the Olympics. I know it's been like that for the last couple of editions, and it's kind of nice to go to a major championships, to have a little trial run, have a little practice, see how you're feeling, and then you can fine tune off the back of that. And a few of these guys will be going to the European champs. I'm sure Lisek's going. He's in a good standing for a medal, and there we go. We just see him doing another little run through. We've seen him do it a couple of times, so I'm wondering whether for him it just feels a little bit of a tester. You know, he runs down and wants to test the pole. He wants to. You can see him strapped up a little bit as well. So it's hard to know why he does the run through, but like I say, for safety reasons, maybe he's just getting that red kind of flag in his mind that it's not safe to go.
Well, that'd be a very interesting take if someone was willing to sacrifice their first jump, as it were, like you mentioned, and just feel the runway, assess potentially with a new pole as well. So Kravchenko, we just saw, he was a European silver medalist in the under-20 age group juniors in 2019. Now the Balkan champion. But, well, here we go then. Ethan Camon of France passed at 5:42. So one failure there. So he's going to have two attempts here at 5:52. What can he do? The Frenchman, he's followed it through as well. A run through for him. So now pressure is on going into that third jump because it's all or nothing for him.
Yeah, I think he doesn't seem to have settled into the competition really. I do see him passing heights a lot. I do see a little bit of a limp there as well. And I can see his ankle strapped up. So I wonder whether he's carrying a little bit of an injury, which is a massive shame. But I mean, what I always think about is athletes at this level, they're always pushing themselves in that red zone, and they're always on the limit of, you know, trying to work their bodies to 100%, which unfortunately means that they are, you know, prone to injuries, and it's sad to see an athlete getting injured, but it's far enough away from the Olympics that he can potentially turn it around if he's got a little niggle.
Well, we hope so. Wojciechowski, okay. 5:52 proving a little bit difficult for him as well, but this is a bit of deja vu for us because he struggled at 42 before finally going clear. We hope he can do the same as well. World champion from 2011, and as Holly mentioned earlier, this is going to be his final season on the pole vault, so we really are soaking him up. He's been a bit of a character and almost a bit of a trailblazer when it comes to Polish vaulting, because it was kind of him. Is it fair to say, Holly, he was a bit of a catalyst to Polish vaulting, and now we've got the likes of Lisek, who's putting on this meeting and competing here, and who's extended that national record to over 6 meters.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching him live in the 2011 World Championships in Daegu, and he was very much the Polish superhero of pole vault before Lisek came along, and I do think he was a big inspiration for those other Polish pole vaulters. You know, to win a world title takes a lot of effort and a lot of talent, and I think he would have definitely been an inspiration for someone like Lisek. And kind of, I know Lisek's took the Polish record on, but he would have been looking to him when he was, you know, younger.
Oh, it's so often the way, isn't it? Once you see a fellow countryman do it, you're inspired, and the rest will follow. So Austin Miller again, just struggling. Okay, at 5:52, just like you say, taking in a bit of information at this stage in the competition. And he has someone who's been pretty adaptable down there so far, hasn't he, Holly?
Yeah, it's interesting, this competition, because I keep looking at the windsock, and if you get a glimpse of it, it's to the right of the runway, and it's a white little flag that basically tells the athletes which direction the wind's blowing, and it looks like it's behind them a lot of the time. So I don't understand why there's a lot of run-throughs, a lot of bails, because you typically see that a lot more in conditions that are unstable. So it's interesting to know why a lot of these athletes are struggling, but maybe they're getting used to it. Sometimes these runways can be incredibly bouncy, and whilst that's amazing, it can take a few volts to get used to it. So maybe that's what some of the athletes are struggling with.
Yes, certainly. Ladvig, another one who struggled a little bit, but can he go clear on his second attempt at this height? Oh, well, quite a long way short there.
Yeah, I think for me that was a bit of a I think he bailed on that jump halfway through. I don't know whether he missed his timing or just sometimes athletes take off and you just know. You know whether you've absolutely nailed it and you're going to clear it, or you know instantly, well, I've swung too soon, or I was too low at takeoff, or I was too close, and they just abort the jump because they almost think, well, I'm not going to clear the bar anyway, so I'm just going to abort it and save my energy. And that kind of looked like what he did there. But what I will say is, I've seen athletes think about aborting the jump and they just throw a rubbish jump up and they clear the bar. So my mindset is it's always worth just expending that little bit of effort to try and clear the bar, because you never really know. Sometimes, like I've thought at takeoff that was the worst takeoff ever and I've cleared the bar, so you might as well throw a jump up there.
Agreed. And someone who will want to do that now is Kravchenko, because like we said, he's had a couple run throughs himself, so second time around at 5 meters in 52. Relatively short run up in, it looks like, oh, and another one. So something just not clicking for him. And how much of this is psychological at this stage now?
Yeah, I think sitting here trying to make the judgment, I would say a lot of this is psychological. But like I say, he's got his knee strapped up, he looks like his ham is strapped up, and that all feeds into the psychology of, am I pushing out hard enough, am I in pain? These guys have about a 20 centimeter swing as to where their foot can come down. So if you think about a long jumper, they can be 20 centimeters over the board, 20 centimeters behind the board, and that's okay. But when you're a pole vault and you have a pole in your hands, you need that takeoff to be super consistent, because you can't really afford to be a half a meter too close or too far. So if you're carrying a little bit of a niggle and you feel like you might be not pushing off, it can really play on your mind.
Yep, Wojciechowski, then can he go clear? Oh, ever so close once again. He's almost there. He just coming down on it a little bit too close to the bar there. But, well, one more attempt. He's getting better and better throughout, though.
Yeah, that looked like a really nice clearance, a really nice jump. He kind of bent his ball down the bar. I think for me, he either needs to use that same pole and just tighten up around the bar, or he needs to move up a pole. If you can see, he's not really got that much wiggle room, so he either needs to change up a pole that gives him a little bit more pop and a little bit more height over it, or he just needs to pole vault a fraction a little bit better to hopefully get himself over that bar.
Yeah, it's an interesting take, and one thing I'm sure many at home will be wondering as well is, what kind of training principles do you guys take into training for this event? Like, where would someone start with the pole vault?
Yeah, I think I always explain to people that pole vault at the very beginning is very much like being faced with a river in front of you, and you're given a big long stick, and someone puts it in your hands and says, cross that river, and you'd run up, you'd plant the stick in the river, and you just fling yourself over. And that really is how you start pole vaulting. And the more confident you get, the faster you get, the stronger you get, the more you can like sprint in and plant that pole and start to keep your arms straight, and that's when it starts to bend.
Great take, and I'm sure Miller started out like that one day as well. Oh, goodness me. Well, I thought he had that one, but again, just like Wojciechowski before him, just come down on the bar a fraction.
Yeah, I think that looked like a really nice jump. The run was good, the takeoff was good, the start of the jump was good, but I think he just maybe looked a little bit scrappy over the bar. I think he's definitely capable of jumping that. And again, the third, let me just have a look. Yeah, he comes down on it. So with the pole vault, you're able to bring the stands, which are the two kind of poles that stick up, and as he's come down on it, I think he would potentially bring the stands in closer to him, so that when he does clear the bar, instead of coming down on it, the bar's closer to him, and then he can easily fit over it. But I think that for me, it looks like his run's getting better, his takeoff's getting better, his feel of the jump is getting better as the competition goes on. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's brought those stands in and he's going to clear it next time.
It's a good point. And is that something that he's able to do himself then?
Yeah, I think as we just saw him, then he ran straight over to the officials. So you go up to the officials and you can either have the stands at 0 and then all the way back to 80. So someone might have the stands on 75, 65, 50. So I can't see what he's got his stands on, but say they were on 60, he potentially would have asked the official, let's bring my stands into 50. So the bar's a little bit closer to him so he can not knock it on the way down.
Right, there we go. Some fantastic intel there. Ludwig, the German. Oh, okay. Unfortunately, that's him. That's his third and final attempt as he bows out in this small, intimate competition here in Duszniki. And if you're joining us, a few men struggling with the bar at 5.52. The big hitters, Renaud Lavillenie and Peter Lisek, are still in, though. They were first-time clearances at 5.42. But Ludwig, unfortunately, the German, well, he was just 25 years of age, 7th a couple weekends ago in Rheineglen out there in Germany, and, well, was in Budapest last year, but didn't manage to make it out the qualification round, and hopefully he can build on that now heading into Paris, because he's more than capable, isn't he, Holly? 5.72 lifetime best.
Yeah, and I think it's worth noting, from being a pole vaulter myself, everyone's at different stages of their season. For some people, this is their opening meet of the season. For some people, this might be their 5th and 6th. And for every kind of situation is different. And, he might be well capable of jumping 580 at the moment, but maybe he's not trained in a couple of weeks because he's been trying to rep out the competition. So he needs a bit of training ahead of the Olympics to freshen up and get a bit fitter. And for some people like your Liseks and your Renault, this being potentially their opening competition, maybe they're ready and they're firing to go. And this is a competition that's going to springboard them onto something else. So it's really difficult to know as a spectator where they're at. But I think seeing how Lisek and Renault cleared those bars, that's unfortunate. Yeah, unfortunate for him to have 3 run-throughs at 52. It seems like he's carrying a bit of a niggle, so maybe he's going to go away and try and fix that ahead of the Olympics, because I'm pretty sure, he's going to want to be there.
Yeah, you would bank on him being there, the Balkan champion, but he's a little way off at the moment. He's going to have to really improve on his 5.45. You mentioned world ranking points as well. But that mark of 5.82, and it seems like a lot of men are kind of getting inside it as well. That's one of the things when World Athletics set those standards. I don't think they ever imagined that so many would be hitting them. And what are we sort of 2 years on from those Paris Olympics being set? And I think it is a surprise to not just the athletes, but everyone involved in the sport, us as well at home, seeing so many people just nail those standards. And talk about world ranking points, they're not that relevant in many events, are they, heading into Paris?
Yeah, I think what I've come to realise is a lot of the track events, the world rankings isn't really featuring because a lot of the people are hitting those standards. And I think in the field events, the men's pole vault is unique in that a lot of people have hit it. But I know on the women's side, there is only about 10 to 15 girls that have. Oh yes.
Huge. Huge
Nice.
there from Miller. Well done to him.
Yeah.
The American stays in this competition, and he's done what he's done in the previous 2 heights as well. Just built into them. Couple failures, and then on that 3rd attempt, he's just sailed over, Holly.
Yeah, that was a really, really good attempt. I could just see as soon as he hit the takeoff, that was going to be a nice clearance, and you could see the air that he has over the bar. There's so much more to come, and yeah, he needs to just get his stands positioned in the right place. As you can see, the high point was behind the bar, but a much better flowing jump. I think when you watch a jump and there's no jerkiness and it just seems to flow and look really nice, that's when they've executed it perfectly.
Oh, yes. And, we were mentioning about how the track events seem to have moved on. We've obviously had the technology is making a bit of a play there on the track, but we haven't really had too many technological advances, have we, in events, in the field events, especially events like the pole vault and the jumps in general. The events haven't really moved on in that sense when it comes to technology, or has it? Is there new training tools out there available?
I think the only way it's really progressed on is there's a few more pole manufacturers out there, so you can see the different coloured poles these guys are competing on. Like you can see Austin there with the yellow one, and that's an Essex pole, and you can see Wojciechowski on the runway with the black and red, and that's a Pacer pole. So you have 4 or 5 different pole manufacturers, and they're trying to add extra carbon fibre into it and weave it in a certain different way to try and make the pole lighter or bend a little bit differently. So they are trying to use technology to try and give athletes a bit of an edge, but when you start messing with the makeup of a pole, it can backfire, because I know a couple of pole manufacturers had issues a couple of years ago with them breaking a lot. So it is tricky.
Oh, it's a shame for Wojciechowski. He was, he passed at 5:52. He had that one attempt there at 5:62. Not his day today, but walks away with the season's best, Holly.
Yeah, I think I can tell by his demeanour. I know he knows he's got a big height in there, but he really is trying to just soak up and enjoy every moment, because once this season's done for him, he'll move on to other things, and you never really will get that feeling of pole vaulting again. And I can tell, although he wants to clear high bars, he is just trying to enjoy every moment. And that was a brilliant attempt for me. And I wouldn't be surprised if he goes on to clear 60, 70, 80 in this season, because that was by far his best attempt at any bar in this competition.
Well, we sure hope he does. And you were mentioning the different pole vault manufacturers as well. How much are one of these poles going to cost these athletes?
So for anyone to buy a pole, you're looking at anywhere between 500 and 1,000. Because the boys are on longer and bigger poles, you're probably looking at £1,000 a pop. And I think a lot of these guys will have anywhere between 20 and 40 poles. Luckily enough, with sponsorship out there, and because these guys are quite good advertisement, some of the pole manufacturers might do a buy one get one free offer, or buy one get two free, and sponsors will buy the poles for them. So they are very lucky in that respect, that they might not need to spend a lot of money on buying these poles. But for those people wanting to get into pole vault, the poles are a big expense and a big cost. But we do have a good community where we're able to share poles and things like that, so it's not something to put you off.
Well, that's very good. Robert Severin of Poland. Can he go clear? 5:62 to bar now out. Oh, it looked like he had the height. Perhaps you mentioned those two stands either side of the mat. Is that a little bit close?
Yeah, I really like the angles that we're seeing today with them going over the bar, because it really gives you a gauge for whether they're hitting the bar on the way up, or are they coming down and landing on the pole. And that really gives you an idea as to what we think is going on. And from what I can see, it looked like he hit the pole. Yeah, he hit the bar on the way up, which he either needs to swing a lot quicker, so it's something that he will go back to his coach and they'll potentially decide, should I try and swing a little bit quicker, or should I move up to a stiffer pole that'll give me a little bit extra height. But it depends. I tend to often go for me trying to maximize my effort on the pole, so I might just try and use the same pole and go a little bit quicker in my swing, but it usually is down to personal preference, really.
So when we see these athletes discussing to their coaches and officials, it is all about just those subtle tweaks, isn't it, that they need to make in order to clear these heights. They're the conversations they're having. And have you ever been in a competition, Holly, where athletes don't have access to coaches, or is it pretty commonplace that they've always got access in some form or another?
No, I think it's a bit of a mixture, really. A lot of athletes, they might get their own flight and accommodation covered by the competition organisers, but sometimes it's an expense that the athlete has to bear to bring their coach along. So I guess it depends financially where you're at as to whether you can afford to bring your coach, but the coach adds so much value to you as an athlete. I know Austin Miller travels the world without his coach, and he's kind of figured out a way of getting other athletes to help him, but I would say 50% of athletes might travel with their coach if you're lucky enough.
I think that's it, isn't it? If you're lucky enough, especially at this level 5:62 for Miller. Okay, well, we won't panic just yet, because he's done this before already, his Miller, so I'm sure he'll have some strong attempts to come at that 5:62. And I think we might see Lisek and Levillini next, unless they've both opted to pass at this height.
I think they should be both in at 62 because they passed 52. I think typically Levillini and Lisek are passers, so they might start a little bit lower to get their confidence up, but then they might pass during the competition. again, with athletes' preferences, some athletes might like Austin Miller is someone who likes to take a lot of jumps. If he takes 15 to 20 jumps in a competition, that doesn't bother him. Whereas for some athletes, they might be limited to actually, I can only do 8 jumps in a competition. So I have to be a little bit more savvy with which bars I take. And if I seem to be failing quite a few jumps, then maybe I should pass. And I typically think Renault is an athlete that likes to pass. He doesn't like to take every bar. It's kind of a little bit of a tactical thing.
A tactical thing, and perhaps a psychological thing to the other opponents down there as well. We usually see those tactics really play out in those major championships, World Championship finals and Olympic Games finals, and that's when it can get really exciting, can't it? I know at a competition like this, everyone's just in it to see how high they can jump, and they're not too worried, I suspect, about the opposition just yet until it gets a little bit later on. But Lavillenie then, 562, as Holly mentioned, chose to pass at that previous height. This is a height that is well within him, especially when he was in his heyday. 605 jumper. Oh, comfortable, Holly.
Very nice. Very, very nice. I could just tell, like, sometimes with Renault over the last couple of years, you could just see him slowing down into takeoff, and one of his biggest assets is his speed, and he's really accelerating, taking all his speed into takeoff, which means the pole's rolling over really nicely, and he's just got that really nice flow going over the bar. And it was a little bit close on the way up, but a very, very nice clearance, and it's nice to see him back jumping technically well, because he is one of the greatest of all time, and it's nice to see him back jumping the way he is.
Awfully consistent, hey, always there at a major championships, getting a medal, so he puts himself in pole position here. But yep, it was 12 years ago he won those Olympic Games in London, 2nd in Rio, and 8th in Tokyo, so he'll hopefully try and better that. 5th a couple of years ago, those World Championships in Oregon as well. So he's more than capable of being top 8. Here goes Lisek, the man of the moment. It's his meeting. This is his town. And Holly, that was one hell of a jump.
Yeah, very, very nice. Again, you can see the speed and the momentum that Lisek brings in. He is very, very tall and very strong, and he just absolutely just jumps into that pole and takes so much power and speed, and it just means that he can take a much bigger pole. And wow, look at the clearance on that. That was an absolutely brilliant jump, just super easy, and I can see just technically absolutely flawless. I think he's got a really good chance of clearing 80 plus today, which is really, really exciting.
Well, that would be exciting. He was 580 in 2022 when he won this competition. In 2023, last year, he won it in 571. So that would better his mark from last year if he can go clear at 72 and potentially a meet record if he does get up over 580 as well, Lisek. And, well, here goes Sabera, his countryman, also of Poland, Robert Sabera. Can he go clear? Yes, he can. Inspired by Lisek, perhaps. Goes clear at 62. So we're going to have 3 over this height already.
Yeah, that was a really nice clearance. You could see him giving a little tickle on the way over. But for me, that jump was much, much better. He went a lot earlier in the swing, which meant instead of knocking the bar, which he did still knock the bar, but it just knocked it only a fraction, which meant the bar stayed on. And yeah, much tidier and better jump for me. And you could see that in the reward because he clears the bar.
Yes, and there he is chatting with Coach, just analysing, getting that feedback after as well, plotting and planning for that 572 for Sabera, which would be getting very close. Well, it would match his season's best and getting up near his lifetime best of 580. So here's Austin Miller, the American, having a pretty strong competition so far. I mentioned hit that season's best of 586 and PB in 13th of April. He's actually gone 590 twice, Holly. But we already discussed about Albuquerque being a bit of a mecca for these vaulters. But yeah, he's someone as well, Holly. I don't think we mentioned it yet. Who has seemed to have improved every single year. He's got steadily better, just by sort of 5-6 centimeters a year. But every single year he's got better, and that counts.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're just constantly learning and learning about the event, he's been on a very steady trajectory, which means that he can be incredibly consistent. And I think whilst Albuquerque is an incredible place to jump, he has jumped 580 so many times, so I wouldn't put him past him replicating that 590 jump that he did. I think I spoke to him, like I said last week, and his main aim this year is, as well as having fun, he wants to try and give qualifying for the Olympics a really good go. And we know how incredibly tough that is as an American athlete. You know, you've got Sam Kendricks, who's a multiple world and Olympic medalist. You've got Chris Nielsen, who is a world and Olympic medalist. Then you've got Casey Lightfoot, who is the American record holder. So all these guys are jumping over and around 6 meters. It makes it incredibly hard for the likes of Austin Miller to make a team when he's still jumping 590. It's so hard, but I think he's got a really nice attitude in that he takes everything with a pinch of salt and just goes into every meet, enjoys it, and just sees how high he can jump.
Yeah, I think that is quite a refreshing attitude, and one of the bonuses of that American qualification system for the Olympics, it is just top 3, and he already has that standard nailed. So should anything happen to those big 3 on the day, you think he'd be there or thereabouts and the next man on the plane. So and anything can happen in pole vault, can't it? It's about being consistent when it really matters, and so often we kind of see those shocks and surprises in an event like this.
Yeah, I mean, that's why pole vaulting is so exciting, but also, as a pole vaulter myself, incredibly frustrating, because anything could really happen. And we saw it in Tokyo. Matt Ludwig actually hopped on the plane a couple of days before the men's pole vault qualification because Sam Kendricks got COVID, and, you know, he literally got the call up a couple of days before, and then all of a sudden he's at the Olympic Games. And we saw last year Casey Lightfoot was he jumped over 6 meters but finished 5th at the American trials, so didn't go to Budapest. So whilst the American pole vault scene is very strong, anything can really happen on the day, so you've just got to stay positive and put yourself in the mix. And you know, you never know what another person's going to do. You can only control what you're going to do, and I'm sure that's what he's thinking now, is get myself on that start list of the American champs, and absolutely everything can happen.
Look at these fantastic images. That gives you a real concept of where we are in location. We're in the Duszniki, small town just outside of Poznan. Robert Sabera, who'll be familiar with it, the pole. Can he go clear? Oh, okay, almost there. But just coming down on a little bit, perhaps.
Yeah, that looked like a really, really solid attempt. I think he seems to be stabilising in the competition and kind of found his feet a little bit now, and that was a great attempt. I think maybe just a little bit more refinement, maybe watch the video and see what he thinks. But yeah, you can see he's just dying a little bit. He's lost a bit of energy, so maybe he got jammed a bit close, or maybe he needs to really think about speeding up and transferring that energy through the takeoff a little bit more, because you could just see him dying on the bar.
Yeah, so for those at home, it is not a case of just kind of running max effort and planting the pole, is it? You have to judge it depending on what height you're on, and I suspect what pole you're using.
Yeah, I think pole vault's a lot more controlled than what you think. There's a set amount of steps that you're running, so a lot of these guys will either be going from 16, 18 or 20 steps, and it's all about rhythm. And of course, you've got to run with this implement, this massive 5-meter pole, which is hard enough as it is, but it's all about rhythm, building momentum, building speed. But the crucial point is that you need to be at your fastest, 3-4 steps from the box, so you can really transfer all that speed you've created into the pole. Because if you're slowing down and dying into takeoff, that's when you don't tend to hook up a good jump.
Well, can Miller hook a good jump here? 5.72. Passed on his third and final attempt at 62. Oh, okay. Well, frustrating, but very much kind of an all-or-nothing approach he chose to take at 5.72, and it hasn't paid off this time around for the American.
No, that was a really good attempt. You can see how deep he lands in the box. He maybe was a little bit, a little bit more excited, a little bit more energized for this higher attempt, and potentially needed a little bit of a stronger pole to get him over that, but he seems happy enough. He's had a good day. He's really figured it out, and you can see he completely just blows through that. So I 100% know he needed a bigger pole in the bag.
Yeah, and he's an interesting athlete. We've spoken a lot about him, but his coach manages to convince him to stay involved in the sport and keep pole vaulting throughout, throughout his senior career and moving on from college. Never made a NCAA championship, believe it or not, in the indoors or outdoors in the pole vault, and was going to quit and give up the sport as he seeks full-time employment. But his coach Holly managed to convince him to just stay in it, and it's slowly paying off. It's like we said, he's steady progressions, isn't it? But they are paying off.
Yeah, I think sometimes the hardest thing is staying in the sport. Elite sport is incredibly difficult and incredibly hard, and it tests you a lot of the time. And the fact that he's stayed in and now he's reaping the rewards, I'm really stoked for him, because he's probably had a lot of lows, and now he's really seeing those highs.
Well, the Villanine in 572. Oh, and he goes clear again. This is a perfect scorecard so far for him. And looking at Lisek, Corley, that could be a winning jump.
Yeah, I mean, brilliantly clean card, every single thing first attempt. You can see how much that means to him, how stoked he is. I think you mentioned he no-heighted a couple of weeks ago. That's probably playing on the back of his mind. It's the year of his home Olympics. He wants to be in good form, and to come out here and clear 70 very comfortably. I wouldn't be surprised now if he went on to clear 80. That's really, really good, and puts him in the mix in that final, to be honest. And you can see how much he celebrated, and it's a very, very, very clean jump, very easy, very flawless. You can tell he's not battling against the pole, and yeah, you can see what it means to him.
Well, his reaction as well. I'm not sure he can quite believe in himself. Look at him, season's best. Well, here goes the man of the moment here, Peter Lisek. The pole soars over that one too. So I think we're looking at the two men who are going to duel it out over the next few heights, because they both comfortably go clear at 72, and we're in for a bit of a ride here.
Yeah, both of those jumps were flawless, to be honest. You can see how easy it looks for them. 15, 20 centimeters over each of those bars. I think we're going to have a real battle on our hands between these two. We could see a meet record, maybe even getting into that 90 mark, which will be incredible for a competition like this.
Well, it truly would. He absolutely sailed over it there. Denny Lisek, this is the man who founded this meeting, ladies and gentlemen, 4 years ago. Got it up and running. It's in its fourth year now. We mentioned it's this year, the first year around that it's a world. I said it's Continental Tour Bronze, and look, this looks like something that's here to stay, and it's definitely going to be around longer than Lisek's probably competing. I think that's what he wants for it as well, and we hope that it just develops from a bronze to a silver, and then maybe gets gold label status, because these small intimate meetings which just focus on pole vault or high jump, or whether it be in a train station, and so the public can just get involved in it, they really are, looking like they are the way forward in this event. And what's the difference, Holly, between this and competing in a stadium? Is there any?
Yeah, I think I love these meets, like I've already said, and I think as a pole vaulter, sometimes when you're in a stadium, you can feel like on the outskirts. The crowd are there watching, but it's never really all eyes on you, so you can sometimes feel a bit lost. Whereas these competitions, you are the focus, and usually the meet organisers for these events, put on a really good crowd. They get the energy there. They have it set in a position where you've got good conditions, and I just think everything plays into the athlete's favour on something like this. I think as well, like, pole vault sometimes gets overlooked. It doesn't get shown on the TV a lot, whereas this is just bringing the amazing sport of pole vault to the eyes of people, and I think that's why it's so good.
Yeah, well, there's Sabera just clipping that with his feet on the way up before it even got over it. So he's going to have one more attempt at 582. And is there a reason why he chose to pass at 72 and just attack 82? Was it Renaud Villani and Peter Lisek going clear that just encouraged him to go, do you know what? If I want to win today, I'm going to have to clear 82 anyway.
I think sometimes as well, in the eyes of an athlete, like that particular jump looks like a big blow through for me, so the pole's too soft. So I would suggest he would go up a pole to attempt the next one. But sometimes, if he was to get that 82, it'd settle his nerves, he'd get the Olympic qualifying. So maybe he's thinking, if I'm going to clear 72, I'm going to clear 82, so I might as well pass. I've seen him stretching his arm and his pec a lot, and I wonder whether he's just worried a little bit about that. Sometimes these athletes, you can feel in the competition when your energy is starting to dip, and you're like, right, I've not got many more jumps left in me, so let's just go for it. And sometimes that's the kind of spurring on you need. Is there's many a time that the lower bars, I get really lazy, and you don't put as much effort in, but then as soon as that bar goes up, there's something to lose here, and it just makes you step up, even if it's not conscious. And potentially that's something that he thinks about.
it's a good spot there because he does seem to, he has been sort of trying to massage his pec there and his arm and shoulder blade as well. So potentially something. And you mentioned before, I think a lot of athletes carry a knock throughout the season, don't they? Especially when they're on the road for so long. A lot of these men will be hopping around Europe for several weeks at a time. And I think when you can't get access to that regular physio appointments as well, it does make a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think, when you're in the crux of the season now, your routine's all thrown off because potentially you used to pole vaulting every Monday and Friday in winter, and then now you're all of a sudden pole vaulting on a Wednesday and you're pole vaulting on a Saturday and you're flying here, there and everywhere, and like exactly what you said, you're not in your routine, you're not getting your regular therapy. And to be fair, all it takes as an elite athlete is one misstep, one close takeoff, and your muscle, it's working its hardest, it's working to its limit, and it just says, ouch, that hurt me. And you never really know what's around the corner. And he might have done this in warm-up, he might have done it 2 weeks ago, and I think because you're constantly on the edge pushing the boundaries, something can just kind of crop up out of nowhere.
Well, here he is then, Renaud Lavillenie, the Olympic champion from 12 years ago. He's had a rocky last 12 months or so, but this is not a rocky competition. Smooth as you like. 3 clearances, 3 attempts at this stage. 582. This would put him right up there inside the top 15 in the world this year. Oh, and Holly, he almost had it.
That was a really, really close attempt. Really good. The thing is, whilst Renault's had an amazing scorecard so far, he's not really been gathering that much data or learning much because it's been going flawless for him. So this is the first time he'll think, okay, this is what I need to change. This is what I need to tweak. My standards need to come here. For me, it looks like he either needs to move up a pole or he needs to move those stands in a little bit because it just looked like he was coming down on it a little bit. There isn't a limit to how high a pole vaulter can jump on the day, and it looks like we're getting close to that for Renault, as you can see how close he is to the bar, and he'll probably be thinking that, okay, I'm going to just make a few small changes, let's go for this. But I think that height is definitely there tonight.
Well, he's all in on 582, and as I mentioned, between 13 and 20 men have gone clear at that height. And obviously quite difficult because a lot of them, once they clear 82, don't often necessarily see 83 and 84. Like we said, the bar often moves up in 10 centimeter increments, occasionally 5 and occasionally more as well. And that is a little bit of random luck of the draw, really, isn't it? Depending on who you got in your competition and who's moving along. But Piotr Lisek, then the national record holder for Poland a few years ago, season's best of 582 indoors. Can he match that? Can he go clear here? He has been the nearly man when it's come to the Olympic Games. 4th in Rio, 6th in Tokyo in 2021. Can he get on the podium this year? It would take something special. He's in his prime, you could say, at 31. Oh, and okay, much like Renault then, a few small adjustments that need to be had. And are we looking and are we thinking 582 could well win this competition?
Yeah, I think that was probably a closer attempt than what we saw from Renault. It looked like potentially, from my angle, I think he needs to go up a pole. The jump for me looked really good, but he just kind of brushes it off, and I think you can see, as I've talked about, he knocks the bar off on the way up. So for me, change up to a stiffer pole, do exactly the same jump, and you'll clear that bar. It'll give you another 10, 15 centimeters of height over that bar, and I wouldn't be surprised if we did stay on Lisek, we'd see him change the pole out the bag.
You make it sound so easy, Holly. So, Sabera. He's a man who, cleared at 562. He'd be left with that mark if he can't go clear at 82 here. Chose to pass once at 72, one attempt at 82. And now his third and final attempt, or second attempt at 82, shall I say. Prepping himself. The Polish man, and he is a good talent again. He's someone 33 years of age from Wrocław. He won those 2016 European Championships in Amsterdam and cleared a 572 a few weeks ago in Chorsaw as well. So, but he hasn't had that much experience at a major champs, despite being a European champion way back in 16. He was 12th in Budapest and got knocked out in their qualifying round in Oregon as well. So he's someone who if he gets it together, if he gets it right, he can compete for a place in the final, can't he, come a major championships?
Yeah, I think he's having that experience of winning the European champs. He knows what it takes to be, up there in those positions. I think he just, jumping 70 last week, I think he probably wants that 82. Get him, whilst we all have the rankings to fall back on as an athlete, you just want to get the standard. You want to know that you've cleared the height and it's not up to discretion with anyone else and you're on that plane. So I don't think that was his best attempt. I think he was a little bit hesitant in the jump, a little bit half-hearted, as you can see. He almost gave up halfway through, and I think he's probably put the bar up really just to have a look at it. Sometimes when you attempt a bar or you want to clear a bar and you've not really attempted it, because these kind of bars, they won't be attempted in training. It's sometimes nice just to stick it up there, get your eye in, see where the bar is, and then next time you come to attempt it, it doesn't feel as daunting.
So a little bit of a tactical approach for Sabera there. And it's interesting you say they won't attempt it in training. Any particular reason? Is it just the intensity and perhaps the risk beat reward as well? There's not much reward for clearing these heights in training and perhaps a lot of risk.
Yeah, I think the main reason is you can't replicate the same intensity. You can't put your body in the place where it goes in a competition. Like, it's quite well known that Renault, when he's attempting the world record heights, he's never ever used these poles before. He's only ever used them when he's attempting the world record. He'll never get them out in training, and I think that's the unique thing about pole vault is, once you're in that competition zone, you kind of are going to get on competition poles that you haven't used in training, and that in some respect for athletes can be very mentally challenging.
Well, Renault going through that routine, which he's done so many times by now at the highest level and the highest stakes as well here. Duszniki, can he clear 582? Fast on the runway. He's up. Oh, and he's not quite over. It's going to come down to a third and final attempt for him at least. And will it for Lisek?
Yeah, I mean, that looks so much better than what I've seen him in the past few years. I know he's struggled with a few injuries. I know he's had a few quad tears and a foot injury. And for me, the speed on the runway he's getting, the connection of the pole into takeoff, even if he doesn't clear this 82, I know he'll be looking back at this competition and thinking, I'm back. Like, I can use this as a platform to build towards Paris. Like, we're still a couple of months away from, D-Day in Paris, and he'll look at this comp and think, yeah, I'm getting there, I'm getting back to my best, and I'm going to give this a right good go.
Well, absolutely, and is there a reason a man like him is just so consistent? He's been in the game for so long now as well at the highest level. I mean, he must have 10 plus global medals between World Championships, European Championships, and Olympic Games as well.
I think for me, it's the amount of jumps under the belt he has. He's been pole vaulting for so long, and he's very unique in that for the majority of his career, he would go to a pole vault session and rep out anywhere between 50 and 100 jumps. Now, the average jump at a session is anywhere between 10 and 15. So he's literally going to every session twice a week and doing 100 jumps each time. So he's collecting so much information. He's getting better a lot quicker. And I think for me, that's why he just poles apart from everyone else, is because he's got so much experience.
Well, here we go. Then a man with experience too is Lisek, the pole. It's his meeting. Is it his time to shine? Yes! Yes, it is. Good. And that's up and over a meet record as well. 582. That's the Olympic standard nailed. But, Lisek, are we looking at the winner once again? 3 years in a row. A hat-trick of wins at his own meeting.
Yeah, what a clearance. You could see how happy he is. But that was just beautiful. You could see the energy and the speed he was bringing on the runway. I think he probably used to change up a pole, which meant he was giving it a bit more on the runway, and he absolutely smashed the takeoff, really loaded that pole, just got upside down and floated over the bar. And I think he's going to have some good attempts at the next bar, because he hit that pole on the way up, and I think he can afford to maybe take a bigger one and give 92 a good go.
Well, you mentioned before on his second attempt where he sort of clipped it on his way up, you said a few subtle changes, and he'll clear that next height or that next attempt, and boy, did he do that. So, Lisek in pole position here in Duszniki. And now we turn our attention to Lavillenie. Can he respond? He's having a great competition himself already, but look at what that means to Lisek. Goodness me. What a, well, 3 times a world championship medalist, 15, 17 and 19. And, well, is it fair to say some would have thought that those were his years, you know, when he broke that national record in 2019 as well. And he hasn't been able to quite get back to those kind of heights regularly.
Yeah, I think he's had a couple of years where he's struggled a little bit. You know, that season where he jumped 6 meters was the year of his career, and I'm starting to look at him now and think he's getting back to that. You never really know what happens with an athlete, whether they have a few injuries or a few setbacks, but for me, he looks in incredible shape. That 80 clearance was brilliant, and I think it's not to be underestimated. This is his first competition of the season. Sometimes you can be a bit rusty if you've not gone over a hard bar, because not a lot of athletes will go over a hard bar in training. You can be a bit nervous, you can be a bit rusty in terms of like trying to negotiate a hard bar, and he's just come out and he's just smashed it out the park.
Yeah, and a season opener, like you mentioned. So, Renaud Lavillenie, can he respond? Got to go clear at 582 in order to battle to the wire. Oh, and I thought he had it. I mean, that's 3 very, very good attempts at that height. But Lavillenie, unfortunately, has knocked out, and he's handed the victory to Lisek.
Yeah, very, very good attempt. You can see for the day and the conditions and the pole that he's on, this 82 jump would need to be a perfect jump, and he's had 3 amazing attempts. And again, like watching him now, I'm just thinking he's getting back to his best. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him jump 18, 90, even get closer to 6 by the end of the season. You know, 6 meters is a big bar, but he's definitely worth 80 and 90. And I think you can see by his demeanour, he's really happy with where he is at. And it's just nice to see someone like Renaud, who has been so good for so long, getting back to close to where he's been.
Yeah, he is an absolute legend of the sport. He will go down as one of the greats. And fascinatingly, you mentioned about the way he trains and getting in just so many more jumps. And it begs the question, what's Mondo Duplantis doing, or is that an unknown at the moment?
So he broke the world record really early days in this competition season in a meet in China. And I think he's just taken a few weeks of training. You know, when you come out and pretty much in your season opener break the world record, where do you really go from there? He competed in the Golden Spike a couple of days ago and jumped 6 meters. So for him, all eyes will be on the Olympics. And he's actually doing Rome next week, which it's great to see someone so high profile still showing up to the European Championships. It's great for the crowds, great for the fans, and I think he'd love to go there and win that with, you know, a 6 meter plus jump, and then go to that Olympic Games and win.
And I think what's so mesmerizing about someone like Duplantis is his ability to just perform time and time again. You mentioned, I think he's broken the world record 12, 13, possibly even 14 times. That one in China just a few weeks ago. And yeah, his global medals are stacking up now as well when you include indoor and out. So he's a man who's achieved so much. And is he going to have one of these relatively short careers in comparison to someone like Lavillenie? Because will he just get a little bit fatigued?
Yeah, it's an interesting point, and you know, Mondo is now 22, 23 years old, and he's been pole vaulting since 4, so it's coming up to 20 years of pole vaulting, and that's really why he is poles apart, pardon the pun, from everyone else, because he has so many more pole vault reps under the belt. It'll be interesting to see what his future holds for him. I don't think he gets bored with breaking the world record. A lot of people have asked him and said, you know, you've won the Olympics, you've won the world champs, you broke the world record. Why are you bothered about carrying on? And he's like, I want to test the limits of what I'm capable of, and I'm not done yet. I can jump higher. I can jump 630. I want to see how high I can go. And that for me is just amazing. He wants to test his limits, test his boundaries. And he, to be honest, he loves pole vault. He's a pole vault geek, and if he wasn't pole vaulting, I don't think he wouldn't be happy. He's the happiest when he's got a pole in his hand flying through the air.
It certainly looks that way, doesn't it, Duplantis? And like you said, we'll see him at those European Championships in Stockholm as well. But over to this man named Petar Lisek. He's done a fantastic job at organising this meet, pulling this together in the last 4 editions, and he's done a great job at winning the thing as well. He's won this time around. He won a couple back-to-back victories as well last year and the year prior. And now, interestingly, 592. So he's really wanting to get back to some serious heights. Better that season best even more as well. So Petar Lisek, first attempt at 592. Oh, okay. Well, a bit of work to do.
Yeah, it was a difficult to see from this angle, but I think he maybe, this is a big step up. This is a 592 jump now. Although 10 centimeters doesn't sound like a lot, it is a lot in pole vault terms. And I think he probably just wanted to have a look at that. It looked like he was a little bit hesitant in that jump. I wouldn't be surprised if he's maybe changed up a pole. But as you can see, he absolutely clatters that off. So he'll go and watch the video with his coach. I don't know whether he needs a slightly bigger pole. Does he need to try and run in a little bit faster? He'll make the tweaks and come back and try and give it another good attempt.
Yes, well, 592 would put him in the top 5 in the world this year, believe it or not. So perhaps that's why he wants to really kind of better that. And also it's a height where when you look at those global medals, you're probably going to have to get up over it, aren't you, to sneak onto the podium.
Yeah, I mean, if we're assuming that, the gold's going to be won with a 6 metre plus jump, you've got the likes of EJ or Bienna, who could quite easily jump 6 metres for the gold, silver or the bronze. You've got your Chris Nielsen's, who time and time again will rep out jumping 590. You've got your Curtis Marshall, who won from Australia, who won the bronze last year with a 590 jump. So we're talking about at least 590 to get a medal, maybe even more. I'm still hopeful that it's going to take 6 meters to medal, but I'm not sure we're there yet. But if he jumps 592 today, that's likely to put him at least in the top 5 or 6 come the Olympic Games.
Yeah, it would be incredible vaulting to see 6 meters get on the podium. That's what you'd have to hit. And we've got a bit of downtime in between jumps now. Of course, we're just waiting for Lisek to recover and prep himself. Now, is there a ruling on how long he can take in between jumps at this stage in the competition, or is this purely down to when he thinks he is ready?
No, so there's still a time limit. So when there's lots of people in the competition, you each get a minute. Then when it starts to get down to 2 or 3, you get 2 and 3 minutes, depending on how many are in. But now he's the only one in. He'll be getting 5 minutes in between each jump. And the only other time he'll get more time is when he's attempting a national record or a world record, and he gets an additional minute. So if this was him attempting the Polish record, he'd be getting 6 minutes. But as he is just attempting 592, it'll be 5 minutes, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're out there pole vaulting and you're in a bit of a roll, you're in a bit of a groove, 5 minutes is actually a really long time.
So he will maximise that 5 minutes as well, just to get himself in the right headspace, I take it.
Yeah, I think it depends on how fatigued he's feeling. He's actually not taken that many jumps so far in the competition. I think this is his 7th jump, so he might still be feeling fresh. Depends on, how the wind's doing. Like, the wind seems really stable, so he's probably not even looking at the windsock at the minute, so he really will just rest until he feels ready. But it seems like he's going in quite quick succession, which doesn't surprise me given he hasn't done that many jumps.
Getting himself prepped, getting himself ready. He's already got the victory here, so mentality shifting towards higher heights and looking to go clear at 592. Second attempt for Peter Lisek, the pole, 31 years of age, 3 times a global medalist. He's a 3-time victor here at his own meeting in Duszniki as well.
Yeah, what a brilliant crowd they've got. Like, considering this is in a really small town in Poland, the amount of people they're supporting, it just shows you how much of a legend he is in that little town and how much the Polish really get behind pole vault small events like this.
They certainly do. They are a fantastic athletic nation as well, aren't they, the Poles? So, Lisek, can he go clear? 592. Oh, not on that one then. So, you've mentioned about athletes being hesitant in the past in this competition. Just, yeah, that was a red light from him then.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know whether he has actually changed up a pole because, each and every athlete will have their own set of poles, and the increments in which the poles get slightly stiffer depends on, how much money you have. Like without getting too much into the numbers, ideally, Mondo, for example, I'm just saying random numbers, but he might go 11.1, 11.3, 11.5. So his increments are very small, whereas some athletes that maybe don't have the luxury of having as many poles as they want might have to jump between really stiff poles. So he might have changed up. He might be seeing that as a little bit of a tester. Am I safe? Is the pole okay? Because as much as you stand at the back of the runway and tell yourself, I've changed up a pole, I feel confident, I'm really safe, there is just something that sits in the back of your mind, and those little gremlins that you just can't shift. And for me, if he has changed up a pole, he might just be a bit apprehensive, a bit anxious, and just want to have given it a little bit of a test run before he really throws himself at it.
Yeah, that's a very interesting take as well. Athletes potentially they might come to a competition then with just sort of 2 or 3 poles as opposed to sort of 5 or 6.
Yeah, I think like it really just depends how training's going. Like because this is his first competition of the year, he might have been caught off guard with the he might have thought, well, it's my opening comp, I'll be really happy with a 70 bar, so I'll just pack these poles because when you're traveling with poles, you can only really carry 6 or 7. So say he's thought, well, I'll be conservative and I'll take small poles because I don't know how good I'm doing. And then now all of a sudden he's attempting a 90 bar. He might not have big enough poles packed in his bag. We just don't know. And, it might be that this pole is something that he's not jumped on in a while. He just wants to feel a little bit safe. He wants to feel a bit secure. I'm going to just take it down, do a little takeoff and see how I feel. And then really once he's, I do it myself, I feel a bit nervous, I'm just going to do a little bit of a takeoff, and then my next jump, I'm going to go all in.
Well, that is very, very insightful to those at home as well, because often we'll be watching and we'll wonder why. Like you said, they have those run-throughs, and we are discovering exactly why, and getting right inside the minds of these pole vaulters out there at the highest level. And this man he really is the pole. Like I said, season opener, perhaps he has been caught off guard. Yeah, jumping very well. 582 for a season opener outdoors. He'll be very happy with that, especially after going to those World Indoor Championships in Glasgow and no heighting there. That'll be awfully difficult for him to take.
Yeah, and sometimes as an athlete, as much as you want to try and get rid of like negative feelings, some things like that just weigh on your mind, and it doesn't matter how much you try and push them away. That no height might have played on his mind. Well, am I going to go out and no height again? So for him to have come out and jumped 82, I think if he was to stop now, he'll be absolutely stoked. But the fact that he's getting 3 attempts at a 90 bar is amazing. It's given him more information. He can take that into his next competition. He can take that into his next training session. And I think an amazing all day round for Lisek, whatever happens at this attempt.
Yeah, no doubt. He looked at that increment of 587 and said, well, 87 is no good. I'm going to have to clear something like 92 come Paris, come those Olympic Games, come Rome, at those European Championships, if I'm going to make a difference, if I'm really going to get on that podium. So here we go then, third and final attempt, the winner of this competition already. Can we get the icing on the cake? Oh, so close as well, as the bar just flicks off at the end, up into the sky and comes down. But, well, thank you very much for the entertainment, Lisek. He's been terrific out there this afternoon.
Yeah, wow, what an attempt. I thought for a minute that was going to stay on, and I think I definitely now know that he changed up a pole because that attempt was so much better, and I feel like had that attempt been on his second attempt, I think we would have seen that third attempt to be a clearance, and he'll take so much confidence from that. I think whilst this comp is incredibly important for him, he wants to be in the best shape possible at that Olympic Games, and he's learned so much. He can take so much confidence from this, and he'll just keep gathering information as the season goes on, and hopefully he can be in that 90 shape come the Olympics.
Well, he looks incredibly close to it already. I'm sure he will. The true professional he is. He's got vast experience of getting himself prepared for those major championships, providing nothing goes wrong too. And yep, 3 brilliant cracks of the whip there at 592. And that Holly, pretty much concludes. Let's have a little wrap up of these results as well. And to see a 582, we've been spoilt here. And you can see 72 for second with Lavillenie. So great to see him back vaulting well. Sabera in 562. And perhaps a few surprises a little bit further down the field as well.
Yeah, what a great competition. I really do feel like we've been spoilt there with that 582 clearance. I think the depth and the standard of competition we've seen here today has been incredible. And yeah, what a treat for those home fans to be able to watch their star clear that 582 and secure his qualification for the Olympics.
Well, for everyone at home, thank you for tuning in today at this international pole vault meeting in Duszniki, founded by this man, Peter Lisek. You're looking at the winner as well as he gets a quick interview with the host broadcast there. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll leave you with his final words.